Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I found out that my long-term girlfriend, Iris, female 36, had been cheating on me for over a year in the weirdest way possible. Before I begin and explain why I may be the AH, it's important to know that I barely know Iris's family. Like, I've never met her parents twice and don't have them in my phone book or my socials. I was fine with this, as Iris always told me her parents were pretty toxic during her childhood, and she herself kept them at arm's length. Furthermore, they lived a few states away and never found the time to come and visit us. In 10 years, we hadn't talked that much and basically just knew of each other's existence. Iris has told me that she prefers it this way and does not want me to really build any kind of relationship with her parents, as they used to control her romantic relationships in the past. However, she does still speak to them as they are on friendly terms now. About 8 months ago, Iris told me that her parents had gotten separated and things were really tense at home, yada yada. With that story in mind, she told me not to contact either her mom or her dad, as this would lead to them feeling like I had picked a side and she didn't want to deal with the hassle. I complied because it made sense, to be honest. I wasn't close enough to either of her parents to catch up or offer condolences, so it was best that I kept my distance from the situation. After a few months, Iris tells me that her mother has found a new person with a son. Okay, a bit quick, but okay. That was about the end of it, and all I got, apart from the were little updates about her mom's developing relationship and other such details. Eventually, she tells me that her mom and this mystery boyfriend are going to get married. Apparently, after the divorce, her mom had also been working really hard to become closer to Iris, to at least form some kind of bond with her. Her mom, partner, and his son are going to come to visit us for a couple of weeks and discuss the wedding details. This new stepbrother Iris has was a wedding planner by profession, so he'd be doing most of the heavy lifting. Of course, all of this seemed like it was too convenient, but I just had a massive blind spot to this whole shenanigan back then. Her stepbrother, Dale, was meant to come in a week before her mom and stepdad and discuss venues with us. They had asked if I could lend my townhouse for a low-key ceremony, as it would help in cutting costs and create a bond with me that had been sorely missing. Of course, this was the first hole in the story, and when I look back on it now, I feel like an idiot. At first, Iris didn't want me to pick sides, but in just a few months, she was okay with me lending an entire venue dedicated to her mom finding a new boo. Nah, it didn't add up. I know now that it was just an excuse to bring Dale into the house. The first time my stupid brain picked up that something was off was when we went to pick up Dale from the airport. He and Iris seemed to be excessively familiar with each other in a way that couldn't have happened over a few phone calls. It didn't seem like an awkward first meeting, only a fake version of one. However, soon both of them began to talk about the wedding and things seemed to go back to normal. Once we got Dale settled in, they got down to planning in earnest and kept me quite busy. That is to say, I would often have to leave the house alone to go shopping for these two, or they would go out together to learn about each other's parents or whatever. Due to how I had been conditioned by Iris to not interact with her family at all, this probably would have worked. After a couple of days, Dale says, during breakfast, "Damn, Dad had a fall back home and broke his tailbone. I don't think he and your mother will be able to come right now. But since I'm already here, let's use this time to become friends, huh, stepsis? I'm sure we can meet them later." Again, in hindsight, this all seems too convenient, but I just didn't know any better. All I can do is thank my stars because one of my coworkers gave me the first proper piece of proof that something was up. By sheer luck, this work buddy of mine was at a pretty romantic bed and breakfast in the outskirts of our city with his wife, and he noticed Iris and her stepbrother at the buffet. Instead of confronting her, he took a picture and sent it to me, and by their body language, I'd be super concerned if they were in fact step-siblings. Reelings from the growing suspicion that my girlfriend might be cheating on me, I wanted to verify this family connection first and foremost. As disconnected as I was from Iris's family, I still knew her mom's name and general details about her life. A quick 30-minute hunt through Facebook eventually opened up her social media, and I had the shock of my life. Iris's mom was still, in fact, married to her father. This Dale she had brought in was some random guy. He had to be her side piece. God, I still cringe at the audacity of their plan. And I was going to get back at them in the best way possible. I decided to begin speaking to her family as part of my way of exacting revenge. I initiated a conversation with her mom and talked about how I regretted our lack of closeness. Surprisingly, she was on my side about this and said that she had tried to set up a family trip together a couple of months ago, but Iris had shut her down by saying I had work. Surprise, surprise, I said that I was willing to put time aside to get to know her and her husband, even claiming that I wanted their blessing before I asked Iris to marry me. This incentivized them to come over ASAP and also gave me the leverage to ask them to keep all of this a secret from Iris. So on a fine Tuesday afternoon, I went out of the house while Iris and Dale were at home, saying I was going to hit the links. I even told them that I'd be back in around 4 hours or so. What I was heading out for was to pick up Iris's parents from the airport. Considering how stupid and bold-faced they had been, I was sure that I would come back to see them up to something, and with her parents in tow. I had been fooled, I admit, but I was going full steam ahead to humiliate Iris at this point. The ride to and from the airport was really pleasant, and I got to know that her parents, Jane and Omar, are surprisingly nice people. When we pulled into the driveway and drove in, I was extra cautious to be quiet as we entered. Opening the door, Iris and Dale were nowhere to be seen. Leaving the suitcases at the door, we went upstairs and I went to settle them into our guest bedroom, where Dale had been holed up. The door was locked, and I asked, "Hey, anyone in there? Open up. I have a surprise for y'all." I heard panicked whispering, and then, "Just a minute, babe. I was helping Dale out with something." Omar raised his eyebrows quizzically and decided to jump in and say, "Hey, bud, it's me. We're the surprise." While not part of my plan, I wanted her to open the door and see her parents standing there. It played out hilariously. I heard an audible, "Oh, frick!" whispered behind the door and a lot of movement. Jane turned to me and asked, "Oh, who's Dale, by the way?" And I grinned and said, "Iris'll tell you. He's family to her." With Iris cornered like this, I had no idea what her next move was going to be, until I heard her loudly pretend to end a phone call with Dale, and the window opened. This was getting insane, and when Iris opened the door and was alone in the room, I casually took her parents over to the window, and unfortunately, Dale hadn't gotten far enough away in time. It was a sight to see a man in his underwear go running across the property. At this point, I thought it was time to tell Iris that I was kicking her out of my house, and she could find a bridge to sleep under for all I cared. Her parents were bewildered at first, but then became progressively more shocked and angry once I told them the full story. They felt hurt and used as pawns in this game. And get this, once I told them a bit more about Dale, they recognized who this person was. Dale, or his real name, Jeff, was one of Iris's ex-boyfriends who her parents were wary of, as he had a bad drug habit in the past and a stunning lack of ambition. Iris had a fit and said she was driven to his behavior because of the abrupt end to their relationship. I scoffed when she said this and even told her that it was not my problem. It's been a day since then, and since her parents have their return ticket in a couple of days, I offered to let them stay in my house, and Iris and Dale have been kicked out. I genuinely don't think I'm TA in this situation, but my social media has been blown up by Iris's friends saying she had to relive her trauma due to inviting her parents over. I think this is a poor excuse, but what do you think, Reddit? I know I could have kicked her out without involving Omar and Jane, but honestly, I think she deserved it. Update 1. Iris and Dale have left the state, and from what I know, they're living in a shitty apartment in a shitty neighborhood. Omar and Jane left a couple of weeks ago, but they've been a joy to have. And although it stings to let go of a relationship of 10 years, they've given me a lot of emotional support and helped me focus on moving on. We've decided to keep in touch, which I like since both my parents are out of the picture and it feels good. Update 2. This is ridiculous. Iris has been going around online selling a completely fake story to people that I knew Dale was her affair partner and was okay with him living in my house, like a cuckold. She even spoke about it on some lifestyle blogs. This added publicity was not what I wanted, and I've been doxxed by her fans now. I guess she's trying to make the best of this and create a sensational story for herself. Update 3. I've spoken to a lawyer and sued Iris for invasion of privacy and defamation. The ironic part is Omar called me and told me that she spoke to them and begged for money to cover legal fees, and they shut that down in a second. They're considering going NC with her due to her utter lack of remorse and a shitty attitude. NTA. This belongs on Am the Angel, to be honest. But I'll give it a pass since you went through such a wild ride. NTA, there was no way in hell this was going to pan out well for Iris, and I love how you gave her just desserts. Next story. In high school, my 28-year-old sister, Madeline, now 33 years old, was severely bullied. This popular girl, who I'll call Stacy, accused Madeline of trying to steal her boyfriend. Stacy started rumors about Madeline, and Madeline's former friends turned on her. Stacy and the other bullies made her life absolute hell. The bullying became so widespread that Madeline had to transfer schools. Madeline is doing well now. She has a loving husband and two beautiful daughters, but those bullies had destroyed her self-esteem for a long time. Even with therapy, she was only able to start recovering a few years into college. The shit those kids said and did to her still impacts her. Madeline and I have a sister-in-law, Maria, 32. She and my brother, Elliot, had two children together, Adrian, 5 years old, female, and Elijah, 3 years old, male. Sadly, Elliot passed away 2 years ago. Maria works full-time, but she spends just about all of her free time with her children, and if she ever splurges, it's for them. The last time she treated herself was several months ago when I booked her a spa appointment for her birthday. Maria is a wonderful mother. However, Madeline has become very critical of Maria for working full-time and not remarrying. Madeline stays home with her girls. She has made increasingly worse comments, but it came to a head a few days ago. Maria and I were talking about how Adrian and Elijah love their daycare center. Madeline started to push Maria about when she was planning to remarry so she could start staying home. Madeline raised her voice and called Maria selfish for not being ready to remarry and for not wanting to be a stay-at-home mom. Madeline said she needs to get the kids a father figure because otherwise Adrian will end up dating a guy who treats her like shit, and Elijah may become one of those bad men. And how a mother's first priority should be her children and not some job. I and Maria kept trying to de-escalate, but then Madeline attacked Maria's outfit and weight gain. Maria gained a small amount of weight after Elliot's passing, but she's still absolutely beautiful. And called Maria selfish for not maintaining her appearance so she could find a new husband. I snapped at Madeline that her attitude is ugly, and right now she's just being like Stacy and the other bullies who made her life hell in high school. Madeline screamed at us, and I saw tears in her eyes before she left. My mother told me that I screwed up majorly with what I told Madeline. Mom said while Madeline phrased it in a bad way, and she would talk to her about it later, Madeline's statements were out of love and genuine concern for her niece and nephew. And I was beyond cruel and had no right to compare Madeline to her high school bullies, especially when I remembered how Madeline would come home sobbing because of the bullying and how her self-esteem was destroyed for years after. Now I'm worried that I went too far with what I said. AITA? Update. A lot of you guys have been suggesting that Madeline was secretly the high school bully and she only pretended to be a victim. I want to clarify that while bullies pretending to be victims have happened in many other situations, it is absolutely not true for Madeline. Madeline was always a nice, friendly kid, especially with her friends. If anything, her friends were the ones who came off as the shallow, drama-loving types to me. Stacy and the other kids undoubtedly bullied Madeline. They did things like destroy Madeline's backpack and pour garbage water over her hair. They slipped notes into her lockers, calling her ugly and stupid and worthless. I remember they followed Madeline home once and hit and insulted her until our neighbors stepped in and scared the bullies away. I think what most likely is going on is because Madeline had so many awful experiences with the bullies and was their victim for so long, she can't see herself as being like them. Maria talked about when she was on maternity leave, she felt bad about not working and making Elliot, in her words, earn everything. I think Madeline probably feels similar and is subconsciously projecting it onto Maria. Madeline is still upset and is currently not talking to me at the moment. I'm going to wait until Madeline has had time to reflect and is ready to again. Then I'll try and talk to Madeline about these feelings and about the possibility of her returning to therapy. I wanted to thank everyone for their thoughtful words and advice. NTA. Mom said while Madeline phrased it in a bad way. That's one way of putting it, which minimizes and completely ignores what she actually said, which was telling Maria she was selfish for not being ready to remarry, telling Maria she needs to get the kids a father figure, criticizing Maria's outfit, criticizing Maria's weight, predicting Maria that her children will have miserable futures, daughter will end up dating a guy who treats her like shit, and her son may become one of those bad men. I give credit to your mother for being able to see out of those rose-colored glasses. Your sister is not just a bully, she is bullying a widow. I mean, teenagers, you almost expect bullying, but a woman in her 30s bullying a widow? That is extra. Next story. Last night, my husband and I, both 36, went and saw the movie Barbarian. If you're not familiar, it's a horror movie. As we're coming into the theater, I see a young family with a baby who's maybe a few months old. I'm instantly put off. Not because I don't like children, but babies have no place at a movie theater, especially a horror movie in the evening. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, but the kid is fussing and making noise through the previews. I'm hoping they'll get it together and feed the baby, use a passy, but the movie starts and the noise continues. I didn't want to get an employee because I'd missed the movie and I figured there's not much the employees would do anyway. So I say very loudly, "Quiet your kid. Who brings a baby to a movie theater?" No one else has dared to say anything, but I'm not sure no one else is happy about the situation. It continues and the movie gets to a suspenseful part. The baby starts fussing and making a noise again. It is ruining the tension and tone of the movie. I say loudly again, "You are ruining the movie for everyone. Get out." At this point, the parents get up to leave, but they reach the front and they start scanning the crowd to see who said it. They were pissed and looked like they wanted to fight. I didn't engage them because I have no desire to be arrested and mess with my work situation. They left and the rest of the theater was peaceful. The movie is fantastic if you like horror. I'm doubting myself because I am a mom and I understand that parenting is tough. This could be their first baby and they're learning. Maybe they couldn't afford a babysitter. I just don't think it's acceptable to bring a noisy baby to a movie theater, especially in the evening to a movie for adults. I just can't believe I'm the only one who spoke up. AITA? Edit. Yes, I was very irritated at the point that I said something because the kid fussed during all the previews and continued into the movie. To all the people saying I was just as disruptive listening to a baby for 20 minutes and me talking exactly twice are very different things. NTA. It's insane how many people will bring a straight up infant to a horror movie because they don't want to hire a babysitter. If money is the issue, then they could have found something to do that was baby appropriate. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl